feel that you smell that fresh cut grass. I'm back in my helmet, cleats, and shoulder pads. Standing in the huddle, listening to the call. Fans going crazy for the boys that fall.
All right, we have a lot of boys to fall games to get to for the predictional records here tonight. So let's get to it, stew it. These are Big 12 and national televised television games. The Big 12 games, I'll say who I think is going to win them and the channel they're going to be on. The national, I'll do the same aspect and same thing there. Big 12 wise, you start 11 a.m. in the morning in the Little Apple, the battle for Kansas. As Charlie Weiss tries not to go 0-2 in the league. Won't happen. Coming off of their biggest win in probably the Bill Snyder era. Knocking off one of the top teams in the Big 12 Conference. Probably their biggest since 03. Non-inaugurably. Kansas at 7th ranked Kansas State. 11 a.m. on Fox. You cannot go wrong with Colin Klein and company. Colin Klein and those guys win the ballgame. Moving right along. 17th ranked Oklahoma. Trying to avenge that biggest win in Kansas State history. Of course, Oklahoma, since 03 at least. Oklahoma, my Sooners, of course, were the team of interest on that game. 17th ranked Oklahoma back on track against Texas Tech. 2:30 ABC regional ESPN2 coverage. I think Oklahoma wins this ballgame. This is why Mike Stoops was brought back here, strictly for this spread offense. The hard thing about this, the difficult thing to think, though, in this game, Texas Tech's defense has obviously improved. Have they improved enough, though? They don't have to prove a whole lot to bust up Oklahoma, because all they have to do is bracket Kenny Stills, and then you got this offense. But Shepard's starting to show up. I think that McGuire will. So if those guys have manned up the way that I think they have over the last week, they'll go into Lubbock and win. For the first time since 2003 for Oklahoma. I think it'll happen. I hope it does. Iowa State at 15th ranked TCU, also 2:30, Fox Sports Net. You can't go wrong with TCU in this ball club, in this matchup. Defense on defense. That means that the advantage home team. Advantage home team also is because at least TCU has some inkling of offense. Iowa State, they have Jans, but that's all they really have. They don't really have a wide receivers out in the back. They don't have the runner, so that's why they win a lot of their home games. This one, though, on the road at Texas Christian, I think Fort Worth is going to be rocking and rolling for that one. First Big 12 game in Fort Worth, by the way, for TCU. Speaking of first games for Big 12 opponents, Fox National, number 8, West Virginia, at 11th ranked Texas, 6 p.m., Fox National Television. I can't really throw them up here because it wouldn't be right, particularly with me being who I am, me being a Sooner fan and wearing the Sooner Schooner hat. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick Texas. West Virginia is not going to score 70 points a ball game. Not against this defense. I think this defense is much, much better. Now, I hope I'm wrong, and Oklahoma can come in next weekend and prove that. But in Austin, I don't think it'll happen. West Virginia will score, but so will Texas. Texas scores more. Thursday night, ESPNU, Arkansas State at Florida International. I like Arkansas State in this matchup. Gus Malzahn really knows what he's doing. The guy out there at Arizona State now was a assistant coach under Gene Chizik there at for the Auburn National Championship. Now he's doing his own thing. He's rocking and rolling, and that should be a pretty entertaining ball game. Arkansas State, though, wins. At 6:30 on Thursday, 7 o'clock on Thursday, you can switch over to CBS Sports Network and find East Carolina at Central Florida. Central Florida showed me a lot when they played an SEC opponent in Missouri. Now, as you know, if you know me from watching my YouTube casts, I do not think a lot of Missouri's offense. I mean, defense, I should say. I don't think very much of their defense. But I will say Central Florida showed me something the other night. I think that they're going to come away with this one, though. East Carolina is nowhere near the level that Missouri or anybody in the SEC is in. And Central Florida had the lead going into the second half. Finally, USC at Utah. 8 o'clock p.m. USC does not want to be already out of the Pac-12 championship race. And I don't think it'll happen. I don't think they're going to get their second loss until Oregon. But if I'm right on that, yes, that means that 8 o'clock p.m. ESPN2 Thursday Night Football, Utah loses. USC takes the W at Utah. Skip ahead a day to Friday Night Football. Big East matchup, butting heads, Pittsburgh and Syracuse. ESPN. I like Pitt in this game. A nasty defense by Pitt and a pretty good offense that was left there for Pittsburgh to play with. I like it here. I like them to win this ball game. 9:15 Friday night, ESPN National. Utah State at BYU. The battle for Utah. Again. BYU wins the Utah matches. They already beat Utah. I think they also beat Boise State. Utah State, I should say. I'm sorry. I think that happens. Should be pretty entertaining, though, with that going on. Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Before game day's even over is when we get started again. And once again, it's Navy. Last time they got things rocking and rolling in college football, before college football game day was over, it was Navy and Notre Dame to get that name out there. They played over in Ireland. This time, it's a rivalry series. Navy at Air Force, CBS. I like what Calhoun's doing there at Air Force. I think that they're going to get this win on CBS. Just for the mere fact that two option offenses. Air Force, the home team. There you go. There you go. 11 a.m. is when all the games, of course, get started. So at 11 a.m. is when the game day gets over and they start rocking and rolling and shooting off all the ball games, including these. Starting off with number 20 Mississippi State at Kentucky, KSBI SEC. I like what I saw from Kentucky the other night. I really do. But I just think Mississippi State's too prepared. I think that you're going to get to see Mississippi State at their best, Kentucky at their best, and it's just going to be too hard to be a ranked SEC team when nobody's going to show up. And I don't think a lot of people are going to show up to Kentucky because they've been terrible. Now, if John Calipari and the basketball team decided to play a basketball game, in that situation, of course, I'd like Kentucky. But in this case, it's football. I like Mississippi State. Here we go. ESPNU. Upsets. I got to pick some upsets, right? If I'm wearing this thing, I got to pick some. Whoop. Not so fast, my friends. Connecticut. A very, very, very stingy defense. Goes in to New Jersey and pulls out a new win over Rutgers. That game will be on ESPN The U at 10 a.m. Well, if Navy and Air Force are playing, Army's got to be playing too, right? They're hosting Boston College on CBS. I think Boston College is going to be mad, and they're going to be spewing fire out of their armpits by the way that they lost to my boy Brent Venables in Clemson. With that being said, they're going to go into a much not so talented Army team and kick them to the dirt a little bit. If you could say that on the air. Not going to be pretty. 24th ranked Northwestern at Pitt on Big ESPN. I'm not sure what to think here. I like Northwestern. I really do. Northwestern is a good university. They are the team that brought us Kevin Wilson, the former offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, off of a good Northwestern ball club. They've built from that, raising the echoes again. I think that they go into Happy Valley and leave happy. That game's on ESPN at 11 o'clock. ESPN2 at 11. Arkansas Pig Suey Razorbacks will face the Auburn Tigers on the Deuce. ESPN2. This is a game that I think Auburn's going to win. If for no other reason, Arkansas didn't beat University of Louisiana Monroe. Auburn did. Boom. The game's at Auburn, by the way. Finally, the battle for Ohio. Buffalo at one of my favorite former Oak Big 12 coaches, Frank Solich, and Ohio on ESPN3.com. I think Ohio wins this game. Tyler Tettleton, the running back, Bo out of Norman North. Those guys are headstrong. They know how to win. They went to Penn State and won when Penn State with a highly ranked team first came in. I think they get this one again. The 2 o'clock games, you start them on Fox National. There are 2 games on Fox National. Big 12 around here, you're going to care about West Virginia and Texas, but you have to wait for this one to get over. Arizona at 18th ranked Stanford. Stanford's not happy. They beat USC. They thought they were on top of the world. They got upset. Now it's time for them to hit Arizona in the mouth, and I think they're going to. I like Stanford, 18th ranked Stanford, in this ball game. Northern Illinois at Ball State, ESPN3.com, also at 2 o'clock. Ball State, this is a team that came into Oklahoma and was just outmanned. But now they're playing their level. This was last year, by the way. Now they're playing their guys. They're playing their level against Northern Illinois. I think Ball State wins this game. They won the division a couple times. I like it. Finally, a 2 o'clock game, ESPN3.com, Central Michigan at Toledo. You got to go with the Rockets at home, right? They got a big-time win over Kansas a couple years ago in Toledo. So why go against Toledo when they're getting big-time wins over big-time schools? Like Mangino's Kansas Jayhawks when they were good. So you got to go with Toledo. The 2:30 games, the regular matchups that start at 2:30. Here they go. ESPN will have the option attack of Georgia Tech at my boy Brent Venables and Clemson. My boy Brent Venables has played Air Force over the years here at Oklahoma and won over the years at Oklahoma. Last time they played 2 years ago when we first played Florida State in the home series, it wasn't pretty, but they won. They stopped them. I really think Clemson and Brent Venables are going to do it again. They're going to stop the option again. Matt hats off to Georgia Tech for the toughness that they showed last week against Miami. It's not good enough, though. Not good enough. Not good enough on the road at Clemson. Not good enough. CBS. Like I said, you got to pick some upsets, right? LSU. Black Des Miles. Les Miles will face 10th ranked Florida. Chomp, 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 baby. Gator chomp. I think Les Miles and LSU are Gator bait. I think LSU, they got lucky that they got in that title game. Well, actually, I guess Alabama got lucky they were in the title game. They got lucky that they beat Alabama the first time. Alabama went and kicked them around the second time. This team, LSU, did not play well against the Townsend Tigers as I thought that they would there early. If they come out that way, if they come out soft early, Florida's going to come and take it to them. And then it'll be over. But I don't think that'll happen. It'll be in the fourth quarter game, but I still think Florida wins. Wake Forest at Maryland on ESPN. Maryland is going to be merry with this one. It's at Maryland, ACC team. I really think Maryland's a good team. They're going to show Wake Forest the ball game, but I think Maryland is going to end up winning the thing. I think Wisconsin gets back on track at home against Illinois, ESPN2/ABC regional coverage. This game or the Oklahoma-Texas Tech game, one of the two, will be on your local ABC affiliate. If not, switch over to ESPN2 and you can watch it. I can't make it much more simpler than that. Wisconsin wins, by the way. Tulsa and at Marshall, CBS Sports. Tulsa's a good team. I really like what Tulsa does. They came up and showed me a heck of a lot the other night. 2 years ago, last year I saw a lot from them when they played us, OSU, and Boise, all three schools. They lost those 3 games, but they fought their tails off in those 3 games. And they did what they could to win. And it showed last year when they won every single game they had to, except the Houston one. They're out for revenge over Houston this time, and they'll get Marshall on the way for that revenge. ESPN3.com will have Louisiana Monroe at Middle Tennessee State. Let me ask you a question. Except when they're playing a Big 12 team, how can you go against Monroe? You can't. They're 3-1. They've upset. They're 1-3. They're 1-2, I should say. Go again. They first upset Arkansas. They came so close against Auburn. And then I'm pretty sure they came pretty close against a Big 12 opponent in Baylor at home. This team has a lot of grit. It has a lot of toughness. I like it. I like Louisiana Monroe on this. Tulane at Louisiana Lafayette will be on at 4 o'clock on ESPN3.com. If I had to pick a team here, I'd pick Tulane. I was not very impressed with the one game that I saw with Louisiana Lafayette. I think that they hurt Oklahoma State's possibilities of winning the conference and getting back at Texas even last night for what happened. So that they couldn't, because they did not give West Lunt enough time to play. It was that ugly of a ball game for Louisiana Lafayette. I think Tulane wins. The 6 o'clock games, when it reaches 6 o'clock Central Time, you'll see Georgia and 5th-ranked Georgia and 6th-ranked South Carolina on ESPN. That's where ESPN College Game Day, Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, baby, Kirk Herbstreit, those guys. If you watch my YouTube cast at the beginning of the year, I liked Georgia to win the SEC, meaning that, yes, Georgia should win at South Carolina, and I think they will. If they haven't exhausted their scoring, I don't think they have, though. And even if they have, South Carolina can score too. So to be completely honest with you, it could not have worked any better for Georgia to show their toughness, to show how they love to score, than to have a game last week against Tennessee that came down to the wire in basically a Big 12 shootout instead of a SEC slugfest. Staying in the SEC on ESPN, the U, Texas A&M at Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss in this ball game. Ole Miss playing at home. Texas A&M playing. They do finally have that Big 12. Finally do have that SEC win. That I was saying that they don't yet have. They do have it now. But it's over Arkansas. Who hasn't beaten Arkansas? We said it before. Louisiana Monroe beat this team. That's not very impressive. Therefore, I like Ole Miss. The battle for Ohio on ESPN3.com. Miami of Ohio. Home of Big Ben Roethlisberger at Cincinnati. ESPN3.com at 6 p.m. I like Cincinnati in this bowl game. They showed me a lot of toughness going into SEC territory and winning this ball game last night. Therefore, I think that they come back, they show some toughness, and they win again. And they are the Ohio champions. All they have to do is play Ohio State. Finally, at 6 o'clock, UNLV at Louisiana Tech, ESPN3.com. This is a hard game for me to pick. I'm going to go with Louisiana Tech because it's at home and they love to score. But UNLV can obviously score themselves. But I still like Louisiana Tech. 6:30 p.m., the real U, the Miami U, will play a future Oklahoma opponent in 9th-ranked Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. That game will be played on Soldier Field on NBC, neutral field in Chicago. I don't think you can't go against Notre Dame. Everything has Notre Dame written in this ball game. The home crowd is going to be Notre Dame. Notre Dame has all the fans. Miami fans right now are hiding behind a rock in a tunnel. Or hey, dare I even say, they might even be hiding at Florida State. Or South Florida for all matters. Miami is not the Miami of old. Notre Dame will take care of business in that game. When the 7 o'clock tips kicks off, you'll have 3 sets of games. Starting off on CBS Sports, you'll have Hawaii at San Diego State. Norm Chow's a good coach, but he's got to bring his team across the way into San Diego State. I think San Diego State gets this win. It's not going to be easy. Hawaii's going to score points too. San Diego State, closer than the experts think. Coach it by a field goal or so. The aforementioned team from Florida, Florida State. At NC State, ESPN2. If Florida State is going to send an oopsie, if they're going to pull a Stoops, if they're going to pull an Oklahoma, a big game on the road, this is it. This is it. If they want to prove that they've learned from the experience of playing us the last 2 years, go into North Carolina State to a pretty good defensive end, a bookend that I really like, and the quarterback that I really like. Go in there and win at 7 o'clock on ESPN2. Then I'll be able to show you something. That'll show me something. ESPN/ABC National on ABC. 21st ranked Nebraska. Coming off of a huge win over unranked Wisconsin. 17 unanswered points in the 4th quarter in that game. At the Ohio State. Bo Pelini goes home. Bo Pelini's going to come home. Play in Columbus. Not going to be easy. 2 quarterbacks. If I had to trust one of these quarterbacks, it would probably be Braxton out of Ohio State. So therefore, Braxton gets it done. Feeling the silver power of the Ohio State. And finally, this one could be pretty interesting. Washington at Oregon on ESPN at 9:30 p.m. I like Oregon in this matchup. But if you saw anything from my buddy, my OU friend that brought the OU back to OU, Mike Leach, who's now at Washington State, if he showed you anything, Oregon is beatable if you play smart football. Smart football in home game. This game in Eugene, not going to happen. Too wild of an atmosphere. And that is your Big 12/Top 25 predictions for this week. For myself, Harry James Taylor, thank you very much. Watch the YouTube cast, Boomer Sooner 1982. I'll have an OU Texas Tech preview podcast, YouTube cast, coming up later. Thanks for watching, and as always, love college football.
They didn't let just anybody in that club. They took every ounce of heart and sweat and blood. Get to wear those game day jerseys down the hall. The kings of the school, man, where the boys are fall. Well, let's take